That's my favorite one.
Very nice. So in this episode of PJ and the Beard, we're back with Mike Morrison, and hopefully you can figure out why. So why, just from that little bit, so why is Mike a go-to lesson guy in the area? Why is Mike a go-to bands when they don't have somebody for their gig? Why is he the guy they call to fill in? Why is he the guy the studios call? And I think that's...
Well, that's a lot of kind things to say. I appreciate it. So yeah, this the last one we did all the acoustic guitar stuff, which is what I use mostly anymore for Across the Pond and various other gigs. But occasionally I still am lucky enough to get called out on electric gigs, and definitely I get called to do work in the studio with the electric. I'll admit I'm rusty on the electric right now.
No, when my rusty is your, when my great is your rusty, I'll be happy.
Oh, you're too kind. But I'll show what I got here and what the little arsenal is all about. This is my Telly style guitar. Now this, if you can see, I don't know if you can see the headstop, but this is not actually a Fender. This is a Melancon.
That's gonna be hard to turn.
Yeah, no big deal. But it's just, I just don't want anybody to think I'm lying here. This is not a Fender. This is made.
Are you playing authentic?
Yeah, this is not authentic. This is made by a guy named Gerard, I think, Melancon, out of Louisiana, and he makes great guitars. I think he's pretty sought after. I happen to know that this is the second guitar he ever made. I think he's since made thousands and thousands of them, but I wasn't sure whether it was an actually Melancon or just a forgery, because he changed his logo some time back, and this one didn't look right when I looked up Melancons, and so I actually called down there, and finally, after going through people, I got him on the phone and described the guitar to him, and he said, yeah, that was back when I just started making them. He said, so yeah, have fun with it. No, let me alone. but it's a great little Telly style guitar. Now normally when I'm out gigging with my electric, I'll have a pedal board here, and especially for the Telly type stuff, I like a compressor. I think a lot of us do. And I'll use like the Boss Blue compressor sustainer, and that gives you that little cluck. But yeah, he's got a nice little voice to him. So it's got that sound. You can also get the like the kind of the bluesy. And it does take some gain. So that's the Telly.
So like you said, right now your pedal board's kind of ripped apart.
It's ripped apart. It's kind of not even.
So summertime festivals, acoustic, across the pond.
Yep.
Get into the fall, maybe get into some playing electric.
I will. I'll go out. Definitely that, and much more studio work these days than live work with the electric, which is why I'm just a little bit rusty. But the bottom line is, these are the two guitars I still use the most live. Now,
This is Fender Stratocaster.
This is a Strat that is
late 90s?
Yeah, I would say late 80s.
Late 80s?
I'd say it's
got the roller nut on it.
It's got the fake Spurzels, yeah. It's got the rolling capstan. I guess this is titanium. It's just a great guitar. Now, long ago, I lost the bar to it, and I jammed a piece of wood in there and then took drywall screws and just screwed that tailpiece is never going anywhere again.
So basically it's a hardtail.
It's a hardtail, yeah. And thank goodness for that. But it's got a great tone for slide. Always like the way this guitar drips.
So unlike many guitar players, you play slide and standard tuning most of the time.
Yeah, almost entirely in standard tuning. I didn't know any different when I started learning to play guitar. I didn't know you tuned your guitar different. So I learned all those licks and just thought, well, geez, I'm just not as good as these other guys. You know, I wasn't, but I just figured, you know, someday it'll come. And then by the time I had realized that, geez, they're in open tunings, it was too late. You know, I was used to doing it this way, and I'm not the only one. I think Ed King did mostly play in standard tuning, and I know there's other guys that do too.
I mean, even Warren plays in standard.
He does. He can do anything, but
yeah. And he does open too, obviously.
Right,
but
right.
you can. But I mean, it seems like a lot of the great stories, like you hear. When you listen to how people learn to play guitar, a lot of times it comes from, well, I didn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't know that it was a right-handed guitar. I just flipped it. I didn't.
Yeah, there was no YouTube,
right.
You know, and there was so you just figured stuff out on your own, and I had no clue. And then, you know, it just came to be that it works well. I wear it on my pinky, and that way I can go right into you know, a rhythm or a regular lead, like if I want to do something. Yeah, you can just kind of switch back and forth. I can play. Getting in the way or anything. A lot of guys wear it here, and it feels too cumbersome there for me. So I've always worn it here. There's no right or wrong, you know, as you know that as well as anyone. And I think I should really talk just briefly about this guy.
Yeah, because this is, first of all, I mean, we'll get a close-up picture of it, maybe put up there. But I know, for as long as I've known Mike, that's been kind of.
Yeah, he's been with me. Yeah,
right. So.
He's just as special as that the 1970 D28. Like, I just love this amp. It started out life. It was a brand spanking new amp in 1997. Believe it or not, everybody thinks it's like some kind of like 60s vintage thing, but now it's
just see miles.
Yeah, I just don't take care of things very well apparently. But it's here's the thing about it though. It started out life as an Egnater TOL, and I think they only made them for a year. Rocktron made them. It stood for the Tone of Life, and it's a 50 watt, basically stock amp. And over the years, I've broken literally everything in it. So everything has been replaced at least once. I think the pots have all been replaced twice. Speakers been replaced once. tubes have been replaced multiple times, including the preamp tubes, and it has ended up becoming its own amp. It does not sound like the old TOLs anymore. It sounds like this. And I mean, it just has this. And that's not even, that's with the gain just a little above 12 o'clock there. I don't know if it's translating over the camera that well, but it just has all these harmonic overtones that are just gorgeous. It really has a lot of punch, but it retains its. You can really hear the individual strings and whatnot. Back it off just a little bit. You know, it can. I don't have to switch to the clean channel really. You know, so I've just always loved it.
Do you keep it on that second channel most of the time? Most
of the time, yeah. Now, if I'm doing a straight country gig, I stay clean pretty much the whole time. Maybe for a couple solos during more rockin' tunes, I'll switch over dirty. But for most of my career, I've been on the dirty channel and then just rolled the volume to get that. It's just that. It's that quick, you know.
So no overdrive pedal?
No.
Okay.
No. All in.
But that's basically kind of where I would be with a clean Fender amp, overdrive pedal, and volume knob.
Right.
Leave the overdrive pedal on all the time, but so you have that.
You just leave it on.
Yeah. That's the old guys taught. When I started going down the blues jam and stuff, that's what they taught me was volume knob. And yeah. I don't think a lot of people do that.
Volume knob.
3 gain stages.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was taught the same thing. Use your volume knob. And I did the same thing as you. I had that, I don't know if you can see it, but that Fender Deluxe Reverb was the only amp I had for many years. And I used a tube screamer. And I just, like you, I left the tube screamer on all the time. And then just,
roll the volume
that
knob.
Was it, yeah. I just rolled it on, rolled it on.
It's not really a volume knob anymore, it's more like the tone knob or something.
It really is. I leave my tones pretty much wide open. And then just, because when you back the volume off, it does darken it a touch. So I just kind of leave it. I mean, that's not even with the boost on. I mean, it's not a metal amp, but it's certainly it's got some bowls. So yeah. It's got some bulks, as they say. So yeah, that's about it. And then of course we got the Les Paul, which I bought when I was 15 years old, and I think it's a '74, but I could be wrong. It's somewhere in there. And it's got the Melancon Pro shop pickups in it from Seymour Duncan, and I still have the originals. And then that is a 61 reissue, I believe, SG, which the headstock's been broken on it twice now, once by yours truly, and Chris Delaporta at Woodshed fixed it both times.
Right.
So he's tired of seeing it.
So. That comes up. He comes up a lot.
Yes.
And Chris comes up a lot. Triple R Guitar comes up a lot. There's all these connections that it's kind of interesting.
Yep.
And that's pretty much for electric. You're going. You have your Strat, your Telly.
Yep.
Your Telly.
Yeah, and then if I'm doing more rock type stuff, definitely the Les Paul and the SG come down. And the only reason I like the Strat so much is because it has this little. It has these lace sensors which have a slightly different tone than the regular Strat single coils, but also this Seymour Duncan, I think this is called Little 59, and it's supposed to emulate a 59 humbucker. And it really does it, I don't know, but it's very thick compared to... Stop. It doesn't have that a lot of Strat bridge pickups have. So I'm able to kind of get away with this thing, and if you want to feel it, it's not a light guitar.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
This is a running theme too in some of the episodes. We were at Ray's house, and I swear half the guitars he gave me were like
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That's heavy.
I think
that's a heavy Strat.
I think there's something about that, you know. I don't know if it's swamp ash or what it is, but I think there's something about that definitely makes it a thicker. And I think the what is this, rosewood fingerboard probably contributes to the warmth of the tone a little bit with it as well. So, not to cut on the other guitars, they're all great, but if I could only play one, it would definitely be this guy. And years ago, I would have thought that was blasphemy because all I played was that one. I mean, most of my life I only played that guitar, and then slowly but surely its little brother just kind of came along and stole some of its thunder, but I still love that guitar very much.
Right.
And I'll say I paid $380 for it.
I'm sure that there's people out there that'd be willing to offer you $385.
Yeah,
There's one line on camera that would do that.
and I'd have to think about it. I'd have to think
Really
real hard about that.
Ponder
yeah.
that. So, I mean, if you need an arsenal of guitars for somebody who does this for a living,
Yeah.
right? I mean, can you do better than?
I don't think so, and I'm not a big gear guy. It's just not something I've never collected guitars. It's just I'm old now, so I haven't sold any. That's what it is. I don't get rid of them, but I don't actively collect them. The only reason I have all these amps is just because each one does a different thing. Now that deluxe reverb I've had since I was a boy. The Bad Cat is a great studio amp because it is versatile. Don't like it live as much as I like this guy. This guy just blasts like nobody's business. And then, I hate to say it, but this Egnater here is basically just sitting back here waiting for something to break on this one so that I can rob it from this one to fix this one. It's really the only reason I have it. I never use it. I never play through it. It's just here because the parts for these are very hard to get now. So, yeah. That's what it is. Yep, it sounds great, but this is the one with the magic. So yeah,
That's awesome.
Yep, that's it. Not much more to say.
So I think we're going to come back. We're going to do one more. We're going to keep hanging out with Mike and talk. I think about some lessons in studio work,
Okay, great.
and that will be another segment. So
Sure.
if you're liking what you hear, maybe I can edit that out. You know I probably won't, but if you like what you hear, you want to hang out with us more, hear about lessons, hear about studio work, which is going to be pretty fascinating, go ahead and click subscribe so you can know when those videos are coming out. And without Pat here to have gobs of feedback and to give the line, I'm not really sure what to say.
I can give the line from behind the camera, and there's gobs of feedback in that guitar. I already heard it. So you gotta play some ridiculous feedback. So be on point here. You ready to go? So I'm going to be behind the camera because that's where I look the best.
Hopefully, I'm going to say it now. Hopefully the way we're recording this amp works. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of boring. But
Be super loud no matter how you do it. So I am PJ on behalf of the beard, reminding you no matter what gear, you never have too much gear. There you have it.
That was cool.